to the Week in Geek, your new comics preview for comic book shipping October 9th. I am the Chris Brown. We do not have Mike Ortiz, and I also do not have a co-host this week because I got stiffed by our contest winner. Not happy, recording a little late. We're going to do the best we can. I'm going to wing it as a one-man show. I often joke that I'm a one-man show anyway, so here we go. I'm going to kick it off this week with The Walking Dead number 115. This is a big issue. This is a big deal. We've got the show starting on the 13th of October here on the Sunday. So they're going to go ahead and release their big issue, their big event book here this week. This is going to be part one of All Out War, which is the big storyline. It's going to go 12 issues. Everybody is at war. If you read the last issue, they have said their piece with Negan, and it's on. It's going. They're done. They're tired of arguing with him, tired of messing with him. This is essentially the setup, and it's a good issue. Everybody's preparing for war. It's some good stuff. Really cool issue. Negan was not exactly prepared for Rick and our gang's attitude about this, but here it is, and it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. Now, in addition to that, if you were watching this on October 8th, is the intent to get it up on the Tuesday night. Later tonight at midnight, 12 a.m. Thursday or Wednesday morning, the morning of the 9th, the night of the 8th, we are going to be doing the Walking Dead release party. So that's at midnight. We'll be allowed to sell the 115. We are going to have the midnight only release variant, the cover M, and that'll only be available at midnight. That's it. If I have any left over, they will not be available in the store in the weeks and months to come. They're only available tonight at midnight. They are going to be available one per person at cover price. So if you go ahead and buy any of the other covers, you buy one cover, you're eligible to buy that variant for cover price. Next, I've got Sons of Anarchy. The season's getting a little bit better. It's getting a little bit better here. I was frustrated with the way it opened, but this is a completely different story that doesn't have anything to do with that. Looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. This is a Tig story. The last issue had the daughter of Kozik, who we all remember from, what was that, season 3 or 4? He was the guy that got blown up by the landmine. Well, his daughter's in some trouble and was told, if you ever get in trouble, you go see this guy. And she comes basically to Charming, and she wants to see Tig and have him help her with her problems there. Next up, I've got Archer and Armstrong, number 14. This is Sect Civil War, part 1. This has been a really cool book, and I believe we are still in that Lost World place, kind of the strange area where they went, which was kind of reminding me of what they had done with Turok and that whole the Lost Land kind of stuff. This is just a fun book. I do think it's one of the better books that Valiant's putting out. I look forward to it each and every month. And that is part 1 of a current storyline, so that could probably be a jumping on point for you. Next, I've got Eternal Warrior. This is issue number 2. We've got an 8-bit cover. It looks like Pitfall, some fun stuff. I did not get a chance to read that first issue, but I really like the character of Eternal Warrior and think they've done some really cool stuff with him in the pages of Archer and Armstrong. This is issue 2. It looks like we are perhaps still in, we're in the past, where it looks like we're in 1877. Of course, there were some allusions that he knew Eric. He knew the character that will become Exo Manowar, because, he's been around for quite some time here. This is Galad Anipata. So, good stuff. You should check that out if you're not reading it already. I'm sure you can find the issue number 1. We still have issue number 1 here at Comics and More. Brings me to my next title. I'm looking at Dexter number 4. The character I just mentioned from Sons of Anarchy who played Kozik, that same actor ended up being a marshal that caused some problems for Dexter in that last season. Don't want to spoil anybody's fun, but if you've already seen the rather disappointing ending of the Dexter series, he's a lumberjack and that's okay. But this takes place long before he becomes a lumberjack and everything goes to crap and is totally stupid, and he is kind of having a run-in with a rival of his from his high school days. It's been pretty cool so far. This is issue 4. Should be kind of fun, and maybe it'll take some of that bad taste of the television show out of my mouth. Now I've got Shaolin Cowboy number 1. This is done by Jeff Darrow, and Dave Stewart does the colors. This thing is gorgeous. It looks like it's primarily art. Looks like not a lot of dialogue or word bubbles. We get to some around the middle here. I've not read Shaolin Cowboy in ages. Used to be, I don't even remember who was publishing it back in the day, but it was kind of fun. Looks like there's a little catch-up here in the front. Very, very small text, but they power through a whole bunch of stuff for you there. And if you remember, the Shaolin Cowboy also had that pulp magazine that they were doing, so I'm guessing it's going to maybe tie into some of the stuff they had done there, and I'm looking forward to it. Next, I've got Astro City number 5. This book has been great. This is a Vertigo title now. It's been through, you name it, Image, Wildstorm. Now we're over here with Vertigo. And granted, Wildstorm became a DC title anyway, but kind of interesting that they're, sort of a new launch of Vertigo and taking a different approach to things. And here we got kind of a fun superhero book. The Astro City has always basically just followed the city itself. The city is the main character, and all the characters, that live there and operate and hero around in their costumes. Really, really cool stuff. Then I've got Coffin Hill, another Vertigo book. This was, I'm trying to think, there was something I'd read last week. It was Trillium, I believe. This was they had a little preview in the back of the 3rd issue of Trillium. I don't even remember what it was about, but it's a new Vertigo title. It looks kind of interesting. Looks like there's Coffin Hill, Massachusetts. So it looks like they're trying to do something similar to a Salem, Massachusetts. I don't know those of you who've ever been to Salem, Massachusetts. It's weird there. I could blindfold you, drive you around Boston, then drive into Salem, and you would know something was different. And it looks like there's some kind of a past going on here in Coffin Hill, and the characters are going to kind of react to that. They're trying to, as I recall, I believe there was something where they're trying to bring cast some kind of a spell and bring something forward, and stuff gets really crazy. And it was really convenient of them to make the preview the freaking middle as opposed to the beginning. So there's some things that are probably already ruined for you if you read that preview. Next, I've got 3. This is an Image number 1. We like those Image number 1s, always some interesting stuff. This looks like it's Ryan Kelly, Kieran Gillen, and Jordi Belair. I've liked a lot of Kieran Gillen's stuff. He was doing stuff on Journey into Mystery. My telephone is ringing, but I'm just going to ignore it. This has been a tough day, and I'm getting through this thing the best I can. I don't know that this is it looks like it's Sparta, and it's going to follow those kinds of things, but it certainly doesn't seem to be similar to 300 in any way, and that's certainly not what we want it to be anyway. So, yeah, check out 3. I'm really annoyed today. I can't even explain to you in words how annoyed I am. But I'm going to do the best I can to power through this. Next, I've got Peter Panzerfaust. This is issue 15. This has been a great book. Looks like they're finally getting a little confrontation with the Hook in this issue, which should be great. I mean, they've already set him up. There were some things going on. This is, I believe, the 3rd story arc of Peter Panzerfaust, and this should be right around the middle there. Great stuff. More of Peter Pan set during World War II. Be sure to check that one out. Looking at Ghosted from Image Comics. This is issue 4. This is the thief who has been hired to steal a ghost. At the end of the last issue, it looks like a ghost has killed him. I mean, that may be the only way that they can really capture a ghost is for someone to be dead and work it out that way. And it looks like a ghost attempts to kill him, throws a noose around his neck. But perhaps he makes it out. He's all right. But there are a lot of ghosts in this house, and it's not exactly what they think it is. I really like this book. It's written by Joshua Williamson. Really, really cool stuff. Next, I've got Hoax Hunters. This is issue number 11. This is by Image Comics. These are our friends Mike Morrissey and Steve Seeley. Great dudes. Art by T-Rex Jones. This is the 2nd issue of the current story arc, which began with that issue number 10 that we had the WeekNGeek Comics and More variant. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, admittedly, so I don't know what the new story arc's about, but this book is fun, and T-Rex artwork is phenomenal. Also, check that one out. If you're not already reading Hoax Hunters, get yourself caught up and check that one out. Next, I've got Scratch 9, Cattails number 2. This is done by my very good friend Rob Worley. Great guy, great stuff here. I mean, this book is really fun, and it's essentially a superhero cat who can summon any of his 9 lives at any given point when he gets himself into a scrape. Now, this is a series of short stories. This is published by Hermes Press. The original series was published by someone else. They published, Hermes, I believe, was going to reprint that in a trade, and then they're doing this Cattails, which is just a bunch of short stories by a bunch of different artists and writers. I believe Rob actually wrote them all. We had different art, although Shane Houghton has written one of these as well. And we've got, who is Chris Houghton, his brother draws his story. We got Joshua Buchanan doing one of these, art on one of them. Cool stuff. You couldn't support a better guy than Rob Worley. Check out Scratch 9. Great book. Now, before I get to my top pick here, I wanted to go through real quick. Mike did send in a note. He sent in like a tardy note and kind of wanted us to basically go over what he was going to do. He's looking at Infinity Part 4 of 6, which I'm not caught up on, can't say too much about. He's also looking at Manhattan Projects number 15, which has been a great book. We've really been enjoying this, and Jonathan Hickman is just spot on, great writer, one of my favorites right now, and I did not realize that they've got another guest artist on this. It is our also buddy, guy we like quite a bit, Ryan Brown, guy who does God Hates Astronauts, which also releases in a trade paperback from Image Comics this week. So you got a couple of things from Brian Brown this week. He's also looking at Chew. This is something I am reading. This is Family Recipes Part 2 of 5. You've got two different covers this week. You got one with Tony kind of having to eat a thumb that he's not happy about. Now, this is something his sister left for him. So he's got to figure out what exactly went on with her. We're still building to this story with the vampire, the guy who's basically been stealing all of these food powers. He's essentially if you watched Heroes, he's the Siler of the food-powered Chew universe. Really, really cool stuff. This is great. His sister kind of shows up. This is a fun panel. You know, he's eating a piece of her, and now she's going to kind of be his cohort, almost like the conscience that was Peter Parker in the Superior Spider-Man for a while, kind of nagging at Doc Ock. Then we've got Batman number 24. This is finally 0 Year resuming. This is a thicker book. They say note price. It is $6.99 this week. Glad to be getting back to 0 Year. I think this has been a cool story so far. It looks like, yet again, unfortunately, they're pigeonholing, Scott Snyder in another event. They're going to tie 0 Year into all kinds of stuff. Then I've got Superman Wonder Woman number 1. Again, these are all Mike's picks. This one looks cool. This is done by Charles Soule, who did 27 for Image. He's done a few other things, I believe, for maybe DC at this point. But, I really liked his indie work. Thought it was some good stuff. And they are going to touch on this whole Superman-Wonder Woman relationship, which Booster Gold believes is going to tear everything apart. So I believe they're finally touching on that. They've been building that relationship in Justice League, and now we're gonna get that. Now, I believe I'm just going to take a wild guess as to what Mike's top would be, and I'm going to do his top before I do my top. This is Battle of the Atom Chapter 7. This is X-Men issue number 6. After that last issue, when we found out that things didn't really go, a mutant had been elected president, and then everyone died. Not everyone, a lot of people died. And then the X-Men go on, but the X-Men that are telling us they are the X-Men from the future, they are probably from that future, but they are not these quote-unquote X-Men. So it's not exactly what it looks like. That creature is perhaps, the icy creature is not necessarily Iceman. Really just some interesting stuff. I like this story right now. I think Bendis is doing a great job, kind of manning the helm, and then everyone else is doing stellar work filling in and fitting in, their little piece into the bigger story. This is, like I said, X-Men issue number 6. This is the Brian Wood story. Great, great stuff. Now that brings me to my top pick. Now, everyone would probably have thought that The Walking Dead was going to be my top pick. Now, we've got a big week this week. Again, we're doing the midnight release. You're going to have that variant, the blank white variants, all that cool stuff. But there's another zombie book that I'm actually more excited about than Walking Dead, and that is Afterlife with Archie number 1. This is Roberto Aguirre Sacasa is doing the writing. Francesco Francavilla is doing the art. So it looks a little bit more serious. It doesn't look like typical cartoony Archie stuff. It really looks quite gorgeous. And the story begins with Jughead showing up at Sabrina, the teenage witch's house, and he's got Hot Dog. His dog has been hit by a car. Wants to know if they can save him. They cannot. The breath of life has already left poor Hot Dog's body, and there's nothing they can do. Sabrina, however, feels sorry for Jughead and goes ahead and practices some necromantic magic, brings Hot Dog back to life. Hot Dog bites Jughead, and we now have a complete infestation working up. It also happens to break at the night of the Halloween dance at Riverdale High School. And, when Jughead shows up as a zombie, everyone seemingly just thinks he has the coolest costume ever. I really like the idea. Yeah, okay, everyone's doing a zombie book these days, but I like that Archie's taking a shot at it. There's some fun stuff in here. There's some arguments about which are the Friday the 13th that matter, which are the Nightmare on Elm Streets that matter, and I'm kind of laughing as I agree with some of these things. Really, really cool stuff. This is my top pick. I think this is going to be a great book going forward. This first issue was a lot of fun, and Archie makes it as my top pick for the first time ever, although not the first time Archie's been in the stack. So be sure to check those out at your local brick and mortar store, which should be Comics and More. And with that, that is your solo Week in Geek.